Yo, 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 how are ya, people? Hope you're doing great. And today I would like to, I would like to take you with me on a little discovery. Uh, it's, completely unscripted video. I would just like to kind of go through the investor presentation for Black Rifle Coffee Company and a little bit just tell you about my research because basically one of the things I like to do as, kind of the long-term investor is to continuously build a kind of a mental library, or not just a mental library, but also kind of have a watch list of companies that might be potentially interesting for an investment, because obviously there is a huge amount of companies, right, in either S&P 500, Russell 2000, small caps, mid caps, big caps. There is a lot of companies, right? So you need to somehow filter that. And sometimes, as a retail investor, the best thing you can do is just to keep your eyes open, right? See kind of the world around you, what is happening, because, as a retail investor, you are definitely having some advantage compared to some of those, hedge funds manager or mutual funds manager that are just sitting somewhere on the Wall Street, right, living there in a penthouse and just reading those financial statements, and they are in a sense a little bit detached from the reality, right? And you would basically hear this argument from some of the investing legends like Peter Lynch, who was really keen on seeing how the world works and going into these companies, talking with the management team, talking with the CEO, seeing how the products is being sold, right? If we are talking about some, retail, or in case of the Black Rifle Coffee Company, about how they are basically selling to their customers. So, how did I stumble upon the company, right? And that's kind of what I talked about just now, because I've listened to Joe Rogan podcast, and he had the CEO Evan Hafer on. They did a couple of episodes together, and because obviously Joe is the big fan of the military. Uh, um, so, and this Black Rifle Coffee Company is basically founded by a veteran, and they are big in the veteran community, supporting the first responders and this kind of stuff. And we'll get back to it later when I will be talking a little more about marketing. So just on a big overview, right? This company is not public yet, but they are supposed to be, right? So this presentation I'm basically will be going through now is kind of the pre-merger presentation, because Black Rifle Coffee Company is supposed to go public in the first quarter of 2022, and the SPAC, Special Purpose Acquisition Company, right? For those who do not know what SPAC is, it's basically like a blank check company that will merge with a private company, and through that process will basically take it public. And compared to like the traditional IPOs, it's relatively simpler for a company, because in the normal IPO there is a lot of kind of a bureaucracy and lots of kind of um, yeah, just lots of bureaucracy you need to go through, and it's also relatively costly. So basically this spec principle was developed. However, there are obviously little challenges with this, right? Because it's not as transparent sometimes as the IPO. So it's definitely, if you are investing in specs, it's definitely one of those more riskier things to do. But again, now here I'm just talking about the company on a high level, and just being curious, what do they have, and if that could be a potential buy in 2022 or onwards, right? I'm basically doing the work now, and if I will understand the company on a high level, I will just keep it on the watch list. And once the I will basically in the end I will do some valuations, projections where the company might be heading, And if I like the company and that particular price, I might jump in. But again, not today, not tomorrow. Definitely not planning to buy it now pre merger, right? What I usually like. I mean, I've invested in very few specs, but what I basically like to do is to let them merge. There is usually kind of a hype surrounding that, and we've seen that in 2021, where everything was going crazy, like anything that was spec related just showed up super quickly, but then it kind of came down during the rest of the year. So SPACs are definitely very prone to this volatility, which again, volatility is not it's not a risk, it's a feature, right? If you can use it to your advantage, amazing. um, so again, my plan is just to do the research, see how the merger goes, and where the price is, maybe like 3, 4, 5 months after the merger, and then make the decision. So yeah, well, let's take a look. So Black Rifle Coffee Company, right? I'm looking at the investor presentation. They did the presentation in November 2021. So I just, basically I did my initial research. I spent, oh, I would say maybe like 10 hours looking into the company, right? So I have relatively good understanding of the overall business model, and what are the plans of the management team. But of course, there are definitely points that I'm unsure of, and then it obviously comes down to the valuation. And they are supposed to host a presentation very soon. Let me just maybe check the website and the company's investor relationship, because they are supposed to host another where we are having investor relations, right? So you can kind of see how to do research maybe on your own, right? Because all the companies that are public or supposed to go public are having this investor relations page. And press releases. And yeah, here we go. There is supposed on January 11, right? So that's basically next week on Tuesday. There is supposed to be another presentation. So I'm definitely going to listen to that one and take a look at what do they have to announce. Um, so yeah, now we are in this like discovery mode. So let's take a second look. So investor presentation, coffee, content, community. Looks nice. I'm definitely uh, just kind of the first impression, right? The logos, I like the logo. I'm always fun if we are talking about companies like that, right, that are offering products to the consumer. It's marketing and branding is always super powerful, right? Sometimes it can be basically a competitive mode. If you are looking, if we make maybe the comparison with Starbucks or Coca-Cola, right? Those are the two companies which in a sense are not doing anything special, right? It's not like some tech company which developed a process or software that and they are the only one doing it. Uh, in kind of this retail space, you sometimes have to go for companies that are powerful in their brandings, which again, just kind of a quick look. Black Rifle Coffee Company, kind of a cool logo. They are having these visuals, and later we will go a little bit more into their marketing, because that's something that I definitely like. Let's take a look. Obviously, in the investor presentation, you are having the usual disclaimers, and let's go to the executive summary. So we have the management team, right? That's, in my opinion, one of the most important parts to look into on the qualitative basis when you are looking into the company. The management team, that's alpha and omega. You just need to do a proper research there. And you know you can kind of see that the companies that are really successful, they always have a CEO and the rest of the management team that are something special in a sense, right? Sometimes you're having these even like a kind of the rock star CEOs. Obviously, Elon Musk comes to my mind, or Jeff Bezos, um, who they are just looking at the world on a like completely another level, right? They are kind of playing this three-dimensional chess where the rest of the world is playing checkers. Because running a company, especially a public company, there are just so many moving parts that need to kind of click together. And at the same time, they have to have a vision, right? If you are a CEO, it's mainly about the future, looking those 3 5 years out and having a plan. And then most importantly, executing that plan. That's even harder, right? Because obviously everyone can create a nice presentation with the goals, but then execute on them, that's another level, right? So let's take a look what we have here for the Black Rifle Coffee Company. So obviously we have Evan Hafer. I always mispronounce it. Evan Hafer, I think it's pronounced. So that's Chief Executive Officer and founder, visionary, and innovative leader since the company's founding in 2014. So he, as I mentioned in the beginning, right? I've listened to the interview with Joe Rogan. Amazing interview. Definitely listen to it if you are interested in the company, right? Where he's basically explaining, everything about how the company started. And for me, that was definitely one of the bullish points, right? Because first and foremost, the company is founder led. That's always much bullish sign. I mean, on purely statistical basis, the founder-led companies are mostly doing better than the average, right? Because if you are the founder of the company, it's in a sense your baby, right? And you really want it to succeed, unless you are kind of beyond that point and you just want to cash out. But most of the founders, they usually have that drive to make everything happen, compared to some you know, kind of a stuffy career MBA type CEO who are, you know, kind of trying to produce the good numbers, which usually, it could work to a certain extent, but again, it's nothing compared to a true visionary leader. Um, who can basically kind of steer the whole ship in the proper direction. So I definitely have some good things to say about the guy here. And then obviously here he's having some other competent people: Tom Davin, Greg Iverson, Toby Johnson, Joe Reese, and Duncan Murdoch. So these two guys are on the spec side, right? So uh, I'm not that interested in these two guys. Obviously, it's great to see that they seem to be somewhat competent and they have some experience. But mainly, I'm interested in these three as well, right? What are they doing? How long they've been with the company? And what they did before, right? Because you can kind of see that they already definitely did something. And how successful were they, right? So what I actually did, and what I would usually do, is to check, try to Google those people, simple as that. Check their LinkedIn, right? So you can kind of, for example, if we actually let's do it right now, right? I will show you how I would usually do it. So let me Google, for example, Tom Davin, just as an example. And I think I even, or yeah, Tom Davin. Um, Here we go. Okay, let me just drop it here. Tom Davin, executive at Black Rifle Coffee Company, right? So you can kind of see that this guy has been co-CEO for 3 years, 1 month, right? And before that, he was on the board of directors for BigCountry.com, board of directors for Infinite Hero Foundation, board of directors for Peer Sports LLC, and yeah, TRX training, right? So, okay, the guys obviously, been on some high level positions for a long time, and then what I would, for example, do is to check some of those companies, how they were uh, doing, and maybe what he was doing there, right? If I want to go like extra deeper. Because, okay, for example, you can see that, okay, this is basically like a clothing company, Peer Sports, right? So that's probably something similar, because then it's also a question how it's kind of connected with his current job, right? Because obviously the Black Rifle Coffee is about coffee, but they are and we'll get into that part in marketing on a high sorry on a higher level, but they are basically trying to position themselves as a lifestyle brand, right? And again, that goes into that point about the marketing part, uh, because the best of those companies that are doing really well are basically lifestyle brands, right? Think Starbucks. I mean, Starbucks been beasting for a long time, right? And the question is if, for example, the Black Rifle Company can achieve some of that status. So okay, that's management team. So obviously super important. Definitely take a look if you have time, or you're just somewhere. Let's say you're driving a car to work and you have an hour every day. Try to put on some conference call into the headphones, or someone else talking about the company, so you can kind of form the opinion, and your brain can a little bit process that basically in the background. And as a retail investor, you have time, right? You can look into the companies kind of casually, see, and just learn about interesting businesses, what other people are doing. I mean, I definitely enjoyed it, at least. Okay, let's continue. So, we are America's coffee. That's a bold statement, right? Our mission: Black Rifle Coffee serves premium coffee and content to active military, veterans, first responders, and those who love America. So obviously there is a kind of a niche where they are starting, right? This, active military veterans, first responders, that like their core group. And then you have those who love America, which hopefully is majority of our Americans. I mean, with today's political climate, it's sometimes hard to tell. But again, on a grand level, like majority of people is drinking coffee. It's a huge market. It's a market that's expanding. I did some research on that. um, I can maybe show you later on in some other video. So okay, both statement, vision, try trying to execute. Roasted in the US, veteran controlled, and roughly 50% of employees are veterans or veteran spouses, right? So they are a little bit going beyond that traditional corporation, and doing something concerning ESG. Again, it's amazing when people have their cause, right? You have people interested in different endeavors. Some people might be more concerned about climate. Some people might be concerned about the veterans, right? Some people might be more interested in the kind of the progress of humanity and technological advancement, right? And that's all perfectly fine, as long as the people are kind of have that passion and trying to move the world a little bit forward and basically leave it better than they found it. That's fine with me. So on an overall mission level, I'm satisfied. Again, commitment to veterans. Here they are going a little more into what they are doing for the community. So again, looking cool, love the mission. uh, you know, putting some statistics there. There are definitely lots of veterans in the U.S. There are somewhat, community that is a little bit sometimes forgotten. But again, there are many different people that need help. You know, across the U.S., across the globe. Uh, so again, doesn't matter who you support, but as long as you are doing a thing that improves the world, perfect. Leading sponsorship and full alignment. Okay, that's not that important for us at the moment. Why we believe Black Rifle Coffee Company is a great investment. Yeah, let's take a look into this one. Authentic and passionate focus on a company mission. Company mission drives customers' loyalty and employee retention. And now we are a little bit maybe going into that part, how that mission statement translates on a level of the corporation, right, or on the business, because obviously um, even if you are doing something for the community, it in the end it's a support that should bring you more uh, media attention and just more customers, right? So even though some of those companies are doing those quote unquote good deeds, uh, it doesn't mean that it needs to be exclusive from the profit making, right? Those two can go very well along each other, and I love when companies do that, because again, kind of a world, and we should see the world as kind of a win-win scenario, right? And this is an example how you know basically help your customers, and if you help your customers, they will help you back. So I'm very bullish in this point. Experience management team dedicated to the company's mission. Yeah, we've briefly talked about that one. They will donate some shares to the foundation. Same story. Mission driven lifestyle brand with loyal customer base. Loyalty. That's definitely something we are going to talk more about. Again, this niche that they've basically captured and they are expanding. Uh, that will be important later. Large and differentiated social media following. There is going to be more about that later as well. Massive market opportunity in coffee and beyond. 45 billion total US coffee market with estimated 28 billion serviceable addressable market in coffee. Okay, nice. Obviously, as I briefly mentioned, like almost everyone drinks coffee, right? Coffee is amazing, especially if it tastes good. Uh, that's going to be important as well. So, and it's expanding, right? So, as I mentioned earlier, the market, the overall coffee market is expanding around. I think it was, if I remember my note. Actually, let me open my notes. I did that somewhere. Whoop. Okay, let's see if I can find my notes from my initial research, and it's right there. Okay, total addressable market. Uh, yeah, it's 4% growth. I think they are actually mentioning it later in the presentation, but I confirm it in on statista.com. Uh, Not a huge growth, but a growth nonetheless. But for this company, if you go a little bit later, maybe probably not in this video, but later, if I will do some of the later, it's the basically mission would be how much market share they can capture from the total, because of now they are a small company, and I don't need it to become the next Starbucks in order to make a decent return on my investment, right? I just need them to kind of wedge themselves in between some of those bigger dogs, so to say. Attractive omnichannel model with multiple venues for growth. Direct to consumer subscription business with low churn. Yeah, let's talk about that, right? Because maybe something that's differentiated, for example, from Starbucks. This comparison will naturally kind of happen. Um, it's just super good comparison, not in scale, but in a sense where you are kind of aiming to, right? Because obviously Starbucks, as I mentioned, became basically a lifestyle brand, and they're trying to do something similar. So they are obviously having this subscription business, which is relatively saturated, I would say. Kind of a bearish point there, right? You need to be realistic about your investment, and always don't blindfold yourself when there are these bearish points, and they will always come, but they just need to be not as important as the bullish points. So yeah, they are selling subscription coffee, right? You just kind of sign up and you get the fresh coffee delivered maybe every week or every 2 weeks, every month, and that's a nice stable base, I would say, this subscription model, right? As long as people are not canceling their subscription, it provides you a good stable revenue. So that's kind of a solid baseline. Then they are having growing or wholesale business with expanding roster of retail partners. So their coffee goes into the retail shops, right? They are having later we'll see they are having some ready to drink, cans of coffee. that's obviously a second revenues. No, actually, that's the next point. The canned ready-to-drink products. Uh, the growing wholesale business that does something slightly different. Then there are and then the fourth part is expanding base of retail coffee shops, quote unquote, or they call it outposts, with attractive unit economics, and that's the kind of the main reason I assume why they are going public. And basically the growth plans they are aiming towards for 2022 and onwards, so we will definitely focus on that a little bit later. Highly scalable platform primed to deliver profitable growth. 2021 estimated revenues of 23 millions, growing at 40% compared to 2022 annualized revenue, and with 40% gross margin. That's something I usually love. I mean, I'm definitely more. I mean, if I would share my portfolio with you, which I might at some point, it's more focused on the growth stories. I always like growth stories. I like growth modes. Uh, and 40% in this industry is obviously something that's astonishing. Yeah, let's put it that way. That's clearly astonishing. Obviously, it's relatively capital heavy business. Uh, every time you need to produce something, especially these kind of a traditional stuff, like food or drinks, you definitely need to put some capital up front in order to get the reward later. And obviously, this growth needs to be somewhat financed. So that's maybe one of kind of the mental note what to look into later, how they are planning to finance this expansion. And 40% gross margin. That's also super important, right? Because you need to invest in companies that are having a healthy gross margin, so there is always some wiggle room, in case there is some recessions or uh, anything negative that might come, right? So this having a good margins kind of insulates you against potential downturns, or kind of weather some of the storms that might come. Growth investment masks underlying profitability near term. Okay. So what they are basically trying to convey, and just as kind of a side note, this is obviously presentation that is supposed to sell the company to potential investors. So always take everything that's there with a grain of salt. Obviously, the management team is supposed to and legally obliged to provide as much accurate information to their best knowledge as possible. But of course, you need to always verify. So what they are basically saying is that they would be profitable, but they are funneling all the money into growth, which at the same point I love, because obviously if they execute on that growth curve, uh, it can end really well, right? But of course, it hurts profitability in the near term, which you know anytime you're investing in a growth stock, you are paying for lots of value that is relatively far in the future, right? So, and before that value is delivered, compared to some of those more mature companies which are growing steadily, it's much easier there to kind of do your valuation and estimation, um, because the numbers are not varying as much. But if you are paying for a growth stock that is having all the value here in the future, and you are buying the stock at this point, there is basically this kind of a gap, um, where the price of the stock, the equity in the business, is basically supported by nothing. And that's very tricky part to be, right? Because there is this much more room for kind of a price discovery. And That's obviously much harder to do compared to some of those value companies, right? And if you want to know how to do those valuation on a very high level, then definitely consider joining us in the Financial Fortress. I will have the link in the description. As always, we are doing research like this uh, on a weekly basis. But let's get back to the Black Rifle Coffee Company. Pipeline of initiatives targeting medium to long-term margin expansion. Obviously, as with most manufacturing companies, there is an economics of scale in play, right? The bigger they can get, the more profitable companies become in general, right? Because, you know, uh, again, comparing maybe to some of those big dogs, right? Or maybe slightly different example, Coca-Cola, right? That's such a strong brand these days that even though they are pumping a lot of money into marketing and advertising basically all the time, compared to their overall sales, it's just such a small number in a sense. So, and that also kind of ties with the operating expenses, right? Because you still need only a certain amount of, let's say, accountants or all those supporting jobs, which is relatively fixed. Well, okay, so they believe that Black Rifle Coffee Company is a great investment. I, at this point, am relatively satisfied with what they have to offer, but let's take a deeper look. So, strong financial profile, net sales and gross profit. Um, so, obviously, here we are seeing this amazing compounded annual growth rate 67%, 37%. Great numbers. Obviously, we are talking about a company. This is in millions, right? So in 2019, they had 82 millions in sales. Um, Sometimes don't be sometimes you see a super huge kind of a percentage number from these companies, because obviously if you are scaling from almost nothing, it's not that hard to double or triple. uh, because obviously you can see that during the first couple of years they were able to basically like double between 2019 and 2020, and then kind of 50% up from 20 to 21. um, and then basically in this presentation they are estimating their numbers to 23, right? So they did this at outlook basically only kind of a 2 years in advance. I'm usually trying to look 3 to 5 years out. So obviously I need to take their numbers and then a little bit try to extrapolate what might happen after that. But 37% CAGR at these levels, where we are, obviously talking basically quarter of a billion, that's decent. Love it. Gross profit. Uh, okay, nice. Gross profit margins stable. I like that, right? If you can take a look, 43% in 2019, then slightly lower, then bigger again, then bigger again. That's obviously estimation, right? So, um, you know, slightly lower, but if they can hit their numbers, it's going to be very healthy gross margin. At the moment, they are having 1.9 mil of customers, 270,000 active coffee club subscribers. Okay, okay. Um, Top for RTD, and yeah, I mean, I like this growth story. Let's take a short break and move on. Yeah, I'm back. Let's take a second look. So, what we do: mission-driven lifestyle brand, high-quality coffee and products, and digitally native omnichannel. Okay, marketing. That's what I like to see. I like to invest in a strong brands, and their here you can see Black Rifle Coffee Company compared to some of those, lifestyle brands. Lululemon, Yeti, Peloton, Traeger, Dutch Bros, Blue Bottle Coffee. I haven't even heard about it. And Maxwell House. So, obviously Lululemon, for example, is a great lifestyle brand. Yeti, that's actually a very interesting company. Let me maybe pull it down the stock because, I mean, oh, Jesus. Look at that. Look at it here. Phew. Basically 5x on the peak between the 2020 the C-word crash up until the highest point. Jesus, they've been doing amazing level. Yeah, back to the yeah, and you can see, Yeti has 3 million and the Black Rifle Coffee has 9 million, kind of the followers or social media impressions or what you want to call it. Because, I mean, they are really cranking a really quality content, I would say, on a high level. They are most likely spending a lot of money on it. I need to definitely check that one in the financial statement. But basically, if you kind of, look on their, let's say, Instagram page, right, they are having these amazing branded, lots of contents, both kind of educative about a little bit of like a military history, honoring veterans, or some of those, and things like that when they basically maybe let's play it. Oh my god, that's amazing. They've basically took a Tesla, right? Something that's having this super mass appeal these days. Teslas are obviously amazing. I'm a big Tesla shareholder as well, and they've put minigun on a Tesla. I mean, I mean, wow, this is insane. And you can see that, like, yeah, 24,000. Yeah, that's just out of this world. So like their marketing game, that's really on point. Love it. Uh, yeah, our customers love Black Rifle Coffee Company. I've actually talked with some people who drink Black Rifle coffee. They are definitely satisfied with the taste. Obviously, it's to some extent subjective, but uh, hmm, Net Promoter Score. So they are basically kind of stating in the presentation that their brand is that their customers are very satisfied with the brand, right? Compared to Starbucks, Dunkin'. I wouldn't maybe, put that much weight on it in comparison to Starbucks. Obviously, it's nice that we can do that comparison, but obviously Starbucks is like on a completely another level, and that they've already kind of won this game. And if they will maybe got displaced at some point, that might as well happen, but that's definitely going to be. Um, Definitely going to take some time. So don't look that much into it, but hey, looks good. Looks like their customer base is happy with them, right? Top reasons our consumers purchase Black Rifle Coffee: support military grade taste, a brand that shares my values. Again, brand building, love it. Powerful omnichannel strategy drives growth. Direct to consumer, outpost, wholesale. So merchandise. That's, in my opinion, quite an interesting point, right? Because obviously, you are kind of a coffee company, but at the same time, they are just having such a strong brand, with this whole. They are basically trying to convey a certain values to you, right? The values, we as a people, and as an investor, you also have this little bit like a psychological or sociological outlook, and basically kind of estimate where the society is heading, right? That's maybe a little bit also tied with the politics, which is always tricky topic. So they are basically kind of trying to convey these values of kind of importance of a freedom and individual responsibility. So obviously, if you are kind of drinking the coffee or buying their product, you are kind of trying to position yourself as a human being and kind of make your personal values be visible on the outside. And I find this definitely fascinating that we as a humans are doing this. Um, and at the same time, let's take a look at this graph. That's also, in my opinion, kind of important outlook, right? Because in a sense, the company, now that they are doing public, they are transitioning, which is always super tricky. to do, right, when you are basically trying to a little bit, turn the ship a little bit, because they are basically now doing most direct to consumer direct to consumer, um, but they are trying to, in a sense, diversify more and more, right? They are trying to do more wholesale and more outposts. So let's take a look what's their plan. Oh, obviously we are having the total addressable market and the total serviceable market estimation and their current revenue, right? So you can, uh, this is nice overview graph, right? You can kind of see that there is this whole huge opportunity, and they are there, right? They are just tiny player in a sense, right? 300 million 2022 estimated revenue. you know it's such a drop in the bucket, right? Most of the, and I did a little bit of research into that one. Let me just take a peek into my estimation. uh, Current market share of Starbucks, or from this whole US coffee market, Starbucks is taking 21 billions. 21 billions, yeah. That's a, phew, that's crazy. Then Dunkin is having 10 billions, and then basically the 14 billion is for the rest, right? So what we are kind of trying to estimate here for the long term, if I, let's say I would like to invest in the company, right? What I'm basically trying to see if they can wedge themselves into this kind of a pie chart of all the current players. I don't need them to become the biggest one, not at all, right? Because that would mean, what's the current Starbucks valuation? Let me take a look into that one. SBACs. Okay, market cap of Starbucks is 129 billions. Jesus. And here you can see how the Starbucks was beasting basically since the recession. They did 22x. I mean, that's amazing. And of course, if the valuations for the Black Rifle Coffee Company, right? If they would get somewhere where the Starbucks is, if I remember correctly, the valuations, uh, the Black Rifle Coffee Company should be valued during the merger somewhere for like 1.7 billion. So if they would get somewhere where Starbucks is, that would be 100x. But of course, you know, uh, you don't necessarily need 100x to make a lot of money, right? Um, Over the next 10 years, if they can get just to, you know 10 billion market cap, you are doing a very decent 5x. And whatever happens after the SPAC merger, right, they might drop down, and the valuation might get very enticing to make a position. But again, I need to do this research to be able to make that decision. So let's take a look next. Hear a little bit about their audience, right? Audience, well, more customers. Let's say customers, right? So you can see that their customers are relatively more on the younger side, and they are also more affluent than the general population. For me, that's a good point, because okay, if you are having younger customers, they are more likely to stay with you, during their basically lifetime, right? So you are kind of trying to acquire younger customers, and basically they will grow with you. And at the same time, they are more affluent, right? So in case there is any recession or in general weakness, right, those people are not, they don't mind if they need to pay a little extra for something that's premium quality, which seems like the Black Rifle Coffee Company is trying to be, right, going for those, um, for the quality coffee beans. And as we were a little bit a couple of slides before, there was this part about the taste and everything. So they are definitely trying to, in a sense, innovate, or bring the customers wide variety of different, maybe let's take a peek at their coffee, right? And that's the main thing, right? If the coffee is good, that's all you need to get some of those customers. And they are having a lots of different, again, very nicely branded. I would just like almost buy it because of these packages. Um medium roast, dark roast, uh, different, different, different mixes. We all have our specific quirks, right? Someone likes it more dark, someone lighter, silencer smooth, just black, AK espresso. Yeah, I mean, you have to love those names. Come on, that's so funny. Love it. Okay. Yeah, let's move on. Oh my God, this is taking so long. If you are still with me, then comment, like. Oh my God, if you're enjoying my rambling there. Black Rifle Coffee Company utilizes a three-pronged strategy to craft a unique brand: inspire, inform, entertain. Yeah, as I talked about marketing, on point, very engaging. I always like to learn something. They're having funny memes, some of those little like funny Sasquatch, with an AK and drinking coffee. Fun. Focus on delivering highest quality coffee. Yeah, we just talked about it. Light roast, medium roast, dark roast. They are having, wide variety, different flavors, different, kind of places of origin. They are having these ready to drink cans that they are trying to expand, cold brew packs, rounds, instant coffee, and all this apparel, right? As we talked before, you are trying to convey a message. Focus on highest quality products that deliver on taste and drive brand loyalty. Brand loyalty important. Yeah, premium coffee, superior flavor, roasted in-house daily. Again, quality product for a group of people that are loyal customers and more affluent, as we talked, right? I mean, I'm the more I look into the presentation, the more bullish I am on the company, at least kind of on a qualitative level. Obviously then there is a question about the valuation, but their story and there is kind of a growth that we will go into. Oh my god, so exciting. uh, Management team little expanded with head of development and VP of retail operation. I'm following this guy on LinkedIn, and I think no, on LinkedIn definitely he's sharing some interesting stuff there. Also a good point, if you are looking into a company or invested in a company, definitely follow all their social media. Sometimes there are really gems that you can find. Again, kind of Elon Musk and Tesla comes to mind, because obviously Elon is always um, putting some very exciting stuff on Twitter in his case. So definitely always try to stay in touch with your companies. Growth strategy. Okay, this is, and now we are okay. Now I obviously, you can see that I'm quite excited about the company on a qualitative level, but now we are going into that growth story, because that's important if it's well planned out and if they can execute. So, multiple growth vectors with detailed tactical plans. Well, I would expect nothing less from a military, right? I mean, most of those management team guys and big chunk of employees are, military, first responders. They are used to, um, you know, I mean, military, right? There is a chain of command, and there is always all the operations on this in this sector basically need to be well planned and well executed. So another kind of, I would say, bullish point for the company, right? Because these people are supposed to deliver as they promise. Mm. So obviously they are trying to expand their direct to consumer business. Um, you can see that there is more opportunity to drive aided brand awareness, right? So despite all this following, it's still uh, it might sound like a little bit a contradiction, but they are still a little bit under the radar, right? Because they have very strong and loyal core base, but they just need to slightly keep expanding beyond that, and that's maybe something that's a little bit concerning for me if they can execute on that level, right? Because they are on one hand very strong brand, but in a sense narrowed down, right? And you have only a relatively fixed amount of veterans, first responders, and now you need to expand to people that are maybe not, not like 150% aligned with the company's vision, but still, um, you know enjoy the message and enjoy the coffee, right? So you kind of want to check that they can also deliver to kind of the casual coffee drinkers, right? And now it's maybe a little bit also almost the time. I mean, it's hard to talk about this, but you cannot avoid this these days with many of the companies, and that's politics, right? Because obviously, kind of what comes to mind when you see branding like this is that it's more on the political right? But and you can compare it to Starbucks, which I would say, I mean, as a company, you are in a sense trying to be mostly apolitical in a sense, uh, not to offend the potential customers, but sometimes it might be a good point to go the other way, right? Because at this point, Starbucks is almost synonymous with more of the left leaning crowd of consumers, I would say. Uh, but yeah, I've completely lost my train of thoughts. So again, you kind of want to capture bigger part of the market that's outside that very core niche. So that's something I would definitely be interested in, kind of periodically checking if they can execute on that. Second growth mode basically are those outposts, right? So they, in a similar sense of, Starbucks or Dutch Brothers, they basically establish a small shops where you can get your coffee, maybe some merchandise, right? Kind of talk with your friendly local barista, uh, exchange some tips about guns and ammunition, or something along these lines almost. I mean, I'm now making a little bit of joke, but it's nice to have some personal connections, right? Maybe meet there with some of your buddies before you go on the hunt, or just before work, after work. um, and obviously this is exciting for business reason as well, because when you are serving the coffee, this is this is actually very, very profitable business, right? Usually, like the drinks is something with like the highest markups. If you are going to Starbucks and buying a coffee there, oh my god, that's so expensive. Like, don't buy Starbucks, buy S-Bucks, right? But buy the stock, don't buy the drink. Oh my god, like similar here, right? Like, just don't buy the overpriced overpriced Starbucks. Just make coffee at home, right? But if I decide to invest in Black Rifle Coffee Company, then definitely drink Black Rifle Coffee Company. Okay, new product and innovation. More points of distribution in the coffee category, right? If they can get their coffee into more retail shops, they're definitely better. But it's definitely something that has much lower margins compared to those, let's say, outposts or directly to consumers. So I don't necessarily want them to push this hard, or amazing if they can do, but definitely focus more on the both outposts, and direct to consumers is definitely fine. Expansion of wholesale distribution, yeah. So these two are basically, kind of a similar. Yeah, let's take a look at the next one. Monthly churn rates, 3 to 4% of losing customers for the subscription, right? Industry average is 10%, Netflix is 2%, right? So they kind of want to convey that, okay, obviously, once you are paying for Netflix, you're kind of not very likely to cancel. Uh, if you are trying some of those subscription services, right? Maybe for the coffee, maybe for some, these days you have subscription services for anything. Could be clothes, could be so much stuff, and you can see that their churn rate is very good. And in my mind, it kind of provides that stable floor for the business. Brand awareness presents significant growth opportunity. Yeah, we talked about that, right? They are kind of trying to raise that awareness and basically expand on some of those locations. Yeah, good, good. Black Rifle Coffee Company outposts are redefining the brand experience. So if they are building some of those outposts, right, and that's what they are basically planning to spend most money that will be raised during that SPAC merger on. Um, you can see that it's relatively sizable upfront cost, 1.4 mil for this little location, but it provides a good returns. Once it's kind of up and rolling, you are selling those drinks on high margins. You are selling your branded merchandise. 45% cash on cash returns. That's good, right? If people are kind of coming there, if the experience is nice, ah, could be nice, but can they execute? That's kind of the main question, or something, I'm not sure of at this point. Unit benchmarking, according to some of the other, similar stories, similar, kind of the fast foods or Starbucks or Dunkin's, Tim Hortons, Chipotle. Uh, yeah, long runway for outpost expansion, right? So this is the pipeline they are planning to kind of go for. They are aiming for 78 locations across the US in 2023, right? So basically, 2 years from now. Okay, cool. Addressable population and long-term outpost potential, right? So what they are kind of trying to convey in this presentation is that if people will love the brand, there is a lot of room for expansion, right? And they are having that strong brand, so I don't think it's out of realm of possibilities to go to the 78 location by 2023 and keep expanding. If the concept is kind of proven, they have a couple of those outposts, they are having a good results, but scaling is always hard, right? You cannot discount that expansion, and it's always hard to establish like the physical locations, find it locations. It's relatively lengthy process, and sometimes this expansion, that's just a multi-year endeavor. Whew. Yeah, it's tough. A significant opportunity in ready to drink product, so 11-ounce offerings, 15-ounce offerings. You're traditionally, you're going uh, somewhere after work, right? You need a little bit of kick. Canned coffee. I mean, I didn't taste the Black Rifle Coffee Company, uh, but I'm usually more of like the energy drink guy. Actually, I have a Monster there, which reminds me like Monster. Amazing stock. If you invested in Monster like 10 years ago, you're retired by this point. By the way. Um, but I have also sometimes, bought some of the similar products. um, yeah, love it. Ready to drink expansion and retail pipeline, right? So they are trying to get these cans into as many locations as possible, right? And here they are having kind of whew, you know, CVS pharmacies, Circle K, Cumberland Farms, Come and Go, 7-Eleven, Walmart, right? Get it into the doors, get some SKUs there, get it rolling. It's an expansion story about, yeah, right? Because, okay, maybe, you're kind of starting with 2 SKUs. Uh, and how this usually works, right, with the retail, I mean, you are kind of go into some initial agreement with some of those, let's say, just as an example, 7-Eleven, right? They might give you this little bit of shelf space to kind of test it out. And if basically it's kind of it's a game of numbers, right? Like with everyone, the 7-Eleven wants to have a stuff that's selling the best there. So if your 2 SKUs are doing well, they will just give you more space, right? So now you can have like 4 SKUs and 4 different facings. Yeah, it's selling well, selling well. perfect. They'll give you 6 SKUs, right? And kind of see where is that point where it's kind of not necessary to add more anymore. And you would probably see some of those, as I kind of mentioned, beside the Monster, because they are also having some of the coffee as an option, right? And for the Starbucks, maybe some of the other brands. uh, yeah, wholesale coffee and merch product expanding nationwide, right? Sometimes, oh, this is also super nice, right? Because you can buy that coffee in Cabela's, in Bass Pro Shops, in 511 Tacticals. Uh, they are doing again kind of a cool branding on a NASCAR. Probably spending a lot of marketing. And again, that's something you need to do when you are building that brand in the initial phases. But of course, it costs, and that's why you're paying so much for these growth stories. Hmm. Omnichannel flywheel in action, San Antonio, right? So, they kind of chosen San Antonio as one of those kind of a tactical points to kind of check how well they are doing with some of those outpost wholesalers. Cool. It's kind of proof of concept. Adding it all up, 2021 estimated to 2023 estimated revenue growth. So they're expecting 37% CAGR. Some of those should come from the outpost, some of those should come from the new SKUs at the retailers, some of those from just a steady growth or this of customer base, those subscriptions. You know, if I kind of look at it, I like the numbers, but execution is crucial. Um, yeah, and financial overview. Ah, damn, we are now looking more or less into an hour, so maybe I think this is actually a good point to stop, right? Because now we've basically looked into all the qualitative parts. Uh, and that's like a super nice kind of the overview, right? And so obviously you have that qualitative part and the quantitative part as the second one. So just as kind of the conclusion from this whole kind of a little hour-long research I did into the company, it's definitely, I'm super bullish on the company because of the marketing, because of the management team, because of their very loyal customer base. Why I would be bearish? The execution will be crucial if they can, establish all those outposts. If they can, first and foremost, if they can always, execute, find the location, build it out, bring the customers to the doors. That takes a lot of time and lots of discipline to make this right. Second, kind of the a little bit what I'm unsure of, if they can expand their customer base to the people outside of the niche they are having, because that could also very much hamper their growth, right? If they are not able um, to capture some of those kind of a market that's surrounding the niche, right? They need that stable expansion, and it might be a little bit costly in terms of marketing. um, Hey, but the management team, the CEO, and the rest of the guys, they seem to be having kind of um, they seem to be nicely aligned with possibility of them of uh, pushing through all of these obstacles. Ah, yeah, man, it's such an amazing company, right? To learn about some of those. I mean, that's basically all from my side. All I wanted to share with you. Hope you enjoyed, kind of looking with me into one of those many exciting companies that are growing in the US and over the whole world. If you would like to join us inside the Financial Fortress, then check out the link in the description. We are kind of doing this research basically ongoing, sharing our thoughts about so many different companies. We are having a team of 7-figure coaches with decades of experience in the market, and they can provide you with kind of a support when you want to research maybe your own company, right? We have an in-house CPA, We have Coach Warren with a multiple seven-figure portfolio located in Malaysia. We have Coach Tom with 20 years of experience in the credit card and banking industry. We have Coach Brian, who is more into like the shorter term plays, swing trades. Um, and obviously, Jeremy as well, right? With such a success or in the stock market and YouTube and overall. And we are here for you, right, to kind of provide you with the support you need to make your own educated decision and you know m- invest in those companies that might appreciate tremendously in the value in the next 3 5 years and bring you what you kind of are aiming towards, right? Whether it's kind of the financial freedom, support people around you, secure yourself. So yeah, go ahead, apply, like, comment, subscribe, keep the algorithm happy. Hope you enjoyed some of those longer format, and peace.